Good morning. My name is Tanaka Mapandera, and I am part of the team here at Anant Corporation, and we're the ones who built and designed Cassandra.API, which is an open source application for DataStax Astra. Basically, in this video, I'm just going to walk you through the documentation that we have set up, just to make sure that it kind of gives you an option to view this independently of when you're walking through an application, and to also make sure that nobody gets lost along the way, because that can tend to happen sometimes with a big project when things are held in different directories. So basically, the first thing that you're going to want to do before you even run our application is to set up your DataStax Astra account. You have the option of signing up with either your email, Google, or GitHub. Once your account is created, you're going to go through and kind of define your database and fill out a bunch of details. Just keep in mind that some of these naming conventions that you're coming up with, you're going to need to remember that later on when you're defining your credentials to connect to your Astra database from our application. Once you have created your database and that has spun up, you're going to need to download your Secure Connect bundle. Basically, this is a zip folder that has all your login credentials for Astra, and those are needed to connect from our program to your Astra instance. And lastly, this is kind of an example of how you're going to be setting up your connection details. So you're going to need your username, password, cluster, and key space. The table definition here wasn't set up in the earlier step. This is something that you can you will set up at this stage, and it can be whatever you want. This is just going to be the name of the table that's going to be created in your Astra database once you've run the Data Migrator. All right, now that we have our Astra account set up and the database spun up, is actually time to kind of get into the documentation of the actual code. So the very first thing that you're going to need to run before you can get to anything else is the Data Migrator. Basically, this is going to be taking all the data that we have stored in a JSON file, and that's going to be importing that onto your Astra instance. There's a few prerequisites that you're going to need to make sure that you have installed. On GitHub, this will be installed automatically. Otherwise, if you're doing this locally, you're going to have to run a few commands. So it'll kind of just walk you through a few scenarios that you may encounter, and it'll also give you advice on how to resolve those issues. So again, you're able to run this program either locally or on GitHub or on Gitpod. We're also included a few screenshots to show you the expected outcome at the end of running your Data Migrator. And once this is done, if you go back and query some data in your Astra instance, you should see some data being returned. Once that is done, obviously you know that the Data Migrator was successful. So once you've run the Data Migrator, next is to set up an API so that you're able to communicate with your Astra database from our application. So we have the choice. You have the choice between two different APIs. You can either choose to run our Node.js or our Python API. They basically do the same thing, which is again just to communicate between your Astra database, as well as give you the option to read and write different operations. So I can just walk you through really quick through both the Node and Python. So similarly to the Data Migrator, you're able to run this both locally or on Gitpod. Again, we have screenshots and instructions for you to follow to demonstrate the expected outcome. And then down here, we also have a section to walk you through the read and write functionality of our APIs. In this case, is the Node API, and this is carried out through Postman. And through Postman, you're able to get patch, post, delete. Just the standard operations that you'll need when dealing with a database. The same is said for the Python API. Again, it'll just walk you through getting set up, make sure you have the right prerequisites and dependencies. You're able to get this up either locally and or Git pod. And again, we also have a section down here that'll walk you through the read and write Postman. You read write functionality on Postman. And again, you'll be able to carry out get patch, post, delete, just the standard operations. So once you've set up your API, the next step would be to run a set of unit tests. And basically the unit tests just make sure that your API is up and running properly and communicating and actively communicating with your Astra instance. It'll just walk you through the getting started. We kind of explain what the tests do, what the expected outcome is, kind of go through the tech stack, maybe a little bit of troubleshooting if need be, and just like all the other features of this program, you're able to run this both locally and or Git pod, and at the end of it, you should get pretty much just messages saying that the tests were successful, and this way you'll know that okay, your APIs have been set up properly. Lastly, lastly is our admin UI kit. Basically, this is just to visualize your Astra database in table format. We just used an open source a kit that we found online, and then obviously just configured that just for Astra. And just like everything else, you're able to get this up and running both locally and or Git pod. And this is just kind of an example of what it's going to look like. It'll import exactly what you have on Astra. It'll also give you a few operations that you're able to do, such as editing different rows, deleting rows, and etc. You also have the freedom and ability to kind of go in and configure your own columns depending on what type of data is available in your Astra instance. Yeah, we figured this might be something useful just to give because we do understand some people appreciate seeing a database in this format rather than just on a CLI command line. And that should be it. Lastly is just reference material. Here we have links to videos and blog posts, pretty much just either walking you through getting the Data Migrator, APIs, unit testing, admin kits set up in a more on-depth level. We have a few workshops where we worked with DataStax and walked several hundred people through getting our code up and running on their Astra instance. And then we also just have more information on how we initially started the project with getting the program initially connected to Astra, how we went about creating the APIs, Data Migrator, and etc. And I do believe that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it informative. If you do have any questions, please do let us know, and definitely be expecting updates as time goes along, because we want to make this a better experience for everybody. Thank you very much.